So in part 2, we computed the Softmax scores, and now we are going to take these scores and convert them into class labels. So yeah, just to briefly recap, this is the structure of our model, and we are now focusing in on this part where we have the Softmax activation values and we are converting them into class labels. So again, we are looking at a simple example here where we have 3 distinct classes. And if we would index those scores, we would have index 0, index 1, and index 2. And essentially what the argmax function here does, it's asking the question which of these indices corresponds to the largest score. So which index has the largest value? And then this value corresponds to the predicted class label. So again, let's take a look at the code example here to solidify this concept. So here we have the softmax value that we computed in the previous part, also in the convenient decimal point notation, which is a little bit easier to look at than the default scientific notation. So again, just for reference, the first row corresponds to training example 1, and the second row corresponds to training example 2. So now the goal is for each of the 2 training examples to find out what the predicted class is. So for each example, what is the largest softmax value? So looking at each row separately, we see that the index 2, the third item here, corresponds to the largest score for the training example 1. And for training example 2, in the second row, we see that index 1 has the largest value here. And all that the argmax function is doing here essentially is returning these values. So in the first row, it returns 2, and in the second row, it returns 1. And yeah, with that, we covered all the aspects of the architecture of softmax regression. We covered the weights, we covered the softmax activation, and we covered how we convert the softmax activation values into class label. So what's left? Well, what's left is we still haven't talked about the loss function that we use for training this model. So in the next part, we will talk about the cross-entropy loss that we can then use to train the softmax regression models.